Hey guys, it's Drea. So I had an idea the other day and it just popped into my head. It actually was one of those legit ideas that just pop into your head. You weren't even sitting brainstorming. So this idea popped into my head and now I have to film it. And I don't even know if you guys want it or not. But it's basically, why did I wait so long to buy it? And these are products that, okay, years ago I bought my husband like an anniversary card and I remember it said something along the lines of, I wish I had met you sooner so I could love you longer, right? And it's kind of the same idea with makeup, these makeup products. It's like, I wish I had bought it sooner so I could have been using it longer because it's just that good. So why did I wait so long to buy it? I had heard about these products, but I didn't run out and buy it right away. I'm the kind of person usually where I will just impulsively buy things. So there's actually a lot in my collection where I didn't wait to buy it. I just ran out and bought a new release, or when somebody told me something was great, I went out and got it right away. So these are products though, for one reason or another, I didn't do that and I waited a long time before buying it, but they are so good. I wish I would have bought them sooner. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so, because that was a really long introduction, but let's just get right into it. So first thing I want to talk about is kind of a brand as a whole. And granted, I haven't really tried anything but eyeshadow from them, but I want to talk about BH Cosmetic eyeshadow palettes. So I've got 3 of them here. I've talked about this one so many times in the last year. This is the BH Cosmetics Foil Eyes 28 color foil eyeshadow palette. And then I also have the 28 matte palette, and I have the Take Me Back to Brazil palette. I've done different tutorials and get ready with me's with these palettes, and I'll link to them below if you're interested. But just in general, as a brand for eyeshadow, BH Cosmetics is not one that I think of and think, oh my god, I have to get every new release from them, right? So in fact, where I live, and I think Canada in general, it's not really easy to get BH Cosmetics. You kind of have to just order from the website. And for us, we have to worry about paying extra customs when things arrive and stuff like that. So that's another kind of barrier to entry for BH Cosmetics, I feel like. But I picked up this Foil Eyes palette from Winners a few months ago, and I just fell in love with the quality of these eyeshadows, how easy they are to use. The color payoff on them is so amazing for something so cheap. Like when you see a palette like this, most of the time you're going to assume, if you're like me, that they're probably not all that great, and that's why you get so much for your money. But in this case, you get so much for your money, and it's amazing. So I wish that I would have jumped into BH Cosmetics eyeshadows sooner. This matte palette is also really, really good, and I love that it's a bunch of neutrals and colorful shades in there. I'm not going to open it because this packaging is a biatch to open. That is the one thing I will say. This palette has broken, and this palette, I can barely get it open. So it's not like it's going to be the best packaging in the world, that's for sure, but the product is really good. And then I just think the Take Me Back to Brazil palette is so much fun, especially if you love colorful eyeshadows, and it's just so amazing to get so many colors all in one. This particular palette though is kind of powdery, so you just have to be aware of that. But I'm so glad I finally have this brand of eyeshadow to play with, because it's so affordable and it's so good quality. It's so good quality. It's such good quality. The next thing is a product that is kind of a basic, and I feel like most people should have, if not this one in particular, a product like it in their collection, because it's going to make your life so much easier when it comes to certain eyeshadows. And I'm talking about Too Faced Glitter Glue. So this is a sticky eyeshadow base, and it really, really keeps any glittery, fallout prone eyeshadow stuck to your lids. So for example, this eye look that I have going on right now, I just filmed a video with this NARS Narcissist Wanted palette, and this has very chunky glittery shades in them. And when you just put it on with a brush just by itself, it doesn't stick, it falls down, and it needs something really good to stick to. So this is what it comes out of the tube looking like. It's just kind of like a cream, but it's very sticky and tacky. And not only does it keep any glitter stuck to your eyelid, but it also makes certain shadows look way more intense and way more pigmented. So if you're working with metallic shadows, foil eyeshadows, they are really going to stand out even more on this base, as opposed to even just another regular eyeshadow primer, which will still do that, but this one just does it even more. It just gives an extra intensity to whatever eyeshadow you're going to use. So I would say this is an absolute necessity for most people's collections. You don't necessarily have to get the Too Faced Glitter Glue brand, although I think this is kind of like It is the best. It's the best one I've ever tried. But there is one like by NYX. There's a few different more affordable options, but get you a sticky base. So next is a foundation. This is Estee Lauder Double Wear. I know that you know about this foundation. And I had heard about it many times over on YouTube, but it was one of those things where when I was younger, I never wanted to go up to those counters in department stores. You know, the Estee Lauder counter, the Clinique counter, the Lancome counter, whatever. I found them so intimidating. You know, I'm the kind of person who likes to shop and browse and be left alone most of the time. And you can't do that at those makeup counters, right? So I never ever wanted to try anything from those brands until I really got into watching YouTube and I started hearing more and more. So once I did start hearing about this foundation, I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, it's full coverage, great. But being so oily skin, I didn't realize just how good this was going to be for me. Like, this is a full coverage foundation. It's like bulletproof if you have oily skin. It will last you all day. Maybe I have to blot once, maybe, but I have very oily skin. So I just love how it holds up and keeps me matte, and I'm just so happy to have it. And actually, let me talk about this one at the same time because it's kind of a similar story, but this is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation, and this is kind of a drugstore version. This one is full coverage. Maybe not quite as full coverage as this, but still quite up there, especially for something you could get at the drugstore. It describes itself as a demi-matte finish, but I would say it's pretty much fully matte. I might have to blot a couple times with this throughout the day, but this is one of those YouTube made me buy it products, like for sure. I kept hearing about it over and over and over. I didn't run out and buy it immediately, but once I kept hearing about it, that's when I decided to jump in. And even after I bought this, I didn't really give it a chance in my collection for a long time. Like, I bought it, used it maybe a couple times, liked it, and then put it away in favor of using some more of my high-end foundations. But recently, even like I think maybe about 3 months ago or so, I pulled this out and I have been using it so much and loving it. So this is so good, again, if you have oily skin. Let's talk about ColourPop for a second. So my first experience with ColourPop was using their Ultra Matte Liquid Lipsticks, and that was definitely a YouTube made me buy it. I kept hearing about them all over YouTube and I was like, oh my god, I have to run out and go buy these. I hated them. And I wanted to love them because I felt like I had to, in a way, because everybody else did. And I know that's stupid, but sometimes even the best of us fall into that trap where we keep hearing something is so good and we're like, okay, well, it must be good. There must be something wrong with me. But in the end, I realized I just really hate ultra drying liquid lipsticks. Some people don't, and maybe that's why they love them, but they're just not for me. So when ColourPop came out with their Ultra Satin Lips, I just kind of stayed away from them. I was like, no, I'm done with ColourPop. I'm not interested. I don't want to deal with them. I don't like their lip products. But I don't know what happened. For some reason, I decided to buy one. Actually, no, I bought two. I bought the Rabbit and I bought Little Stitches. And once I tried these, I really did fall in love with the formula. So these are definitely not transfer proof. They are fully opaque, like full coverage lipsticks, and they look so good. Like, these colors are so amazing. But ultimately, I like them because they're just so comfortable. And then I did end up buying this color Chandelier in a subsequent order. So I only have three, but I do love this formula, and I feel like I do want to get more. The problem with ColourPop is they just have so many products. You kind of don't know. It's overwhelming. Browsing their website can definitely be overwhelming. So every once in a while I'll order another shade in this range. Even though they're not transfer proof, they still do last a really long time. And I'm just really happy that I gave them a chance after my first experience not liking ColourPop lip products. So MAC paint pots, I think, are widely known as being kind of a really good eyeshadow base. Some people use Painterly, some people use Soft Ochre, and you can usually find something that's going to work on you. Now, I kept hearing about them on YouTube. Again, I had never really set foot in a MAC for years and years. We didn't have a MAC store anywhere near me, but also it's that whole counter thing in a department store I never really wanted to deal with. So once I started watching YouTube videos and I kept seeing people use MAC Painterly, I was like, oh, what is that? But I was still using Urban Decay, what's it called? Their eyeshadow primer, the eyeshadow primer potion? I can't remember. The one in the purple squeezy tube. I was using that because I had heard really good things about it, and I ended up realizing that that product is not for me. It doesn't work for me. I don't like the way it performs. So I ended up actually going out buying MAC Painterly. This is actually my second MAC Painterly. I've used up an entire one of these before, and this one is getting a nice big dip in it. This is the only eyeshadow primer I use. I do have a couple drugstore eyeshadow primers, but for the most part I don't use them. I use them mostly just in tutorials if I'm doing like an all drugstore look, because they are still good products. I do like them, but on the daily, this is what I go to. It is the best for me. I love the way my eyeshadow sits on top of it, lasts all day. It's just so easy to use. I want to talk about a tool. And you don't necessarily have to get this one. You can get any one of these types of tools. But this is a good thing to have in your arsenal as somebody who likes to do makeup. This is just an eyelash separator. And I only bought this about 3 or 4 months ago. I have not had one. And let me tell you, it just really changes your eyelash game, especially if you're not wearing fake eyelashes and you just want mascara. So this is basically just a little, you know, it's got little metal prongs that stick up, and after, you can use it before, and sometimes I do use it before I put on mascara just to comb through, make sure my lashes aren't sticking together, but then I'll use it as well after I put on my mascara. And it just really helps in separating them if you're using a mascara that gets too clumpy, or if maybe you just have a couple lashes that are sticking together, you can just kind of get in there, you know, and separate them, and then you don't have big clumpy lashes. So I don't know why it took me so long to realize that this would be a good tool to have, but it did. Don't be like me. Trust me, go get one of these. This is from the brand Quo, which you can only get in Canada, Shoppers Drug Mart, but you can get them from so many different brands. If you see this eyelash popping off, I keep having to fix it. I'm using this Tarte Pro Lash Glue, and it's not really doing its job today. So it keeps popping up. Okay, I only have a couple more things to talk about. Let's talk about this. This is Tarte Shape Tape. This is not my fault that I didn't run out and get it. I think you guys probably know, if you were around when this launched, that it was really hard to get. It kept selling out over and over and over. It was only sold in Ulta, which here in Canada we don't have Ultas, so you could only get it off the Tarte website in my case, and it kept selling out. So once I was finally able to get my hands on it, I did fall in love with it. I really love this concealer. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's got the huge doe foot applicator on it, but it's full coverage. It's kind of a thin consistency, and it can be drying on some people. It's very full coverage. A little bit goes a long way. You don't need to do like huge triangles under your eyes. You only need a little bit, and still sometimes you can go overboard with it, but it's so full coverage, and for somebody who has very dark under eye circles like I do, it's a godsend. Next is Benefit Hoola. This is something that gets talked about a lot. It definitely did, I think, get talked about even more years ago on YouTube, and I think maybe people have moved on to other things now. But this is still a really, really great bronzer. This is just one of those things where, again, sometimes when people talk about it so much, you're just kind of like, yeah, it can't really be that great, can it? But then eventually I did end up buying this with points from Shoppers Drug Mart, so I didn't even spend my own money on it. I just spent points on it, and that's how I ended up actually deciding to purchase it. And I'm really, really glad I did, because I just love matte bronzer on me now. And this can also be used to contour with, which I do sometimes. Usually I'll use it as bronzer kind of in the more summertime months and fall when I'm a little bit deeper skin tone. And then in the winter I'll switch it up and start using this as contour. And it's not really a cool tone powder. It still has somewhat of a warmth to it, but I feel like it's kind of more neutral than anything. So you can kind of use it as a bronzer or a contour depending on your skin tone. And the very last product is this. This is a Tarte Amazonian Clay Blush. This is in the shade Exposed. Now, I know who it was who kept talking about this. It was Brianna Fox. And I don't know if you follow her channel, but she is really, really great at eyeshadow. And a lot of the time she will use this blush over and over and over because she does very interesting, colorful, out there eyeshadow, and she's always reaching for a neutral blush. And I feel like sometimes a product like this is not so exciting to look at, but it's so good to have in your collection because it's just going to be that go-to. When you don't know what to reach for, you can always reach for this. And I think that's why I've fallen in love with it so much. Again, it's matte. It's just a neutral blush. It doesn't stand out too much. And if you're doing like a crazy eyeshadow look, it's going to look so good with so many things. So I am so glad that I finally eventually caved and bought this, and I have it now. So that is it for why did I wait so long to buy it. I would be so interested to hear from you if you have any products in your collection that you are like, why did I wait so long to buy this? I wish I would have been using this my whole life. Leave it in the comments below. I really, really want to hear from you, and I want to know what that thing is for you. But that's it for today. If you're new here, I'd love to have you as a subscriber, so hit subscribe down below on that button. I put up new videos every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. That's it for today. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.